Holy
What?
Wait a minute.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have breaking news. The Jets are trading Sauce Gardner to the Indianapolis Colts. Picked off.
That's Waller. There's Sauce Gardner all over him in that
Heavy pressure. If you're throwing in Sauce Gardner's area, you better be sure.
Intercepted. Got lost in the sauce.
Juice is temporary. You know, anyone can obtain the juice. The sauce is forever.
Sauce Gardner, you're gonna love Indianapolis. You're gonna love this place. We're gonna love you.
Welcome back to the channel. This is Marcus Sniffles, and we're here to talk about one of the biggest trades in not only Colts history, but NFL history. So the Colts traded 2 first-round picks and A.D. Mitchell for Sauce Gardner. This is pretty insane. Like, I got a couple of text messages from people. The Colts group chat was going crazy, and I couldn't believe it when I saw the news. And I, for one, am excited about this. Before we really get into this and break this trade down, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 900 subscribers before the end of the season. So let's first talk about the departure of A.D. Mitchell, who was, at the beginning of the season, he was wide receiver 4. Wide receiver 3 if you don't count him as a slot guy. But he was pretty much drafted as an insurance policy in case we couldn't keep Alec Pierce. And there's a part of me that wonders what happens with this trade if A.D. Mitchell doesn't fumble that pass in LA. What happens if he doesn't have that holding call on Jonathan Taylor's potential game-tying touchdown run? Is A.D. Mitchell still here? Do we trade a different young player, or do we give up another pick? Because say what you want about A.D. Mitchell, that was a high draft pick. That was the 52nd player in the draft 2 years ago. And to give up on, I don't want to say give up, but you are giving up on him. To give up on a very talented player after 2 years is a bold move, especially by Ballard. Like, he's really big on not giving up on players with physical traits and attributes. I do think that this is a good thing for A.D. Mitchell because he goes to a team that doesn't really have a lot of offensive weapons. Now, the Jets do. We're not going to talk too much about the Jets, but this is more so about A.D. Mitchell. A.D. Mitchell gets a chance to go over to a team that needs offensive players to kind of show what they can do. And A.D. Mitchell does have the talent. And I do think he's going to show his ability over there and show that he can be a valuable number 2 wide receiver in this league. Like, he's got all the physical traits that you'd want. And I will be rooting for him. I'm not going to pretend like I'm going to try to cover the Jets, but I want A.D. Mitchell to do good. I want him to do well over there. And I hope he does well because like I said, I I could not be a GM because I would have a hard time getting rid of players early. Like, I would give a lot of players a lot of leeway and a lot of opportunities and chances. So I'm rooting for A.D. Mitchell, but let's talk about Chris Ballard real quick. Now, there have been some back and forth conversations about him as a GM during his tenure. And there were a few people that were like, wow, I'm glad Chris Ballard finally did something and made a big move. And then there were other people that were just like, we gave up too much for Sauce Gardner. And it's almost like you can't really please certain fans. When Chris Ballard doesn't make trades, it's a problem. Now he's making a trade, and it's a problem. But to those fans that do have a problem with this, as Colts fans, we have been conditioned to not having a GM that does this kind of thing. He's not the kind of GM that wheels and deals at trade deadline. He's not the kind of GM that trades up in the draft. He hasn't been that kind of GM, and now he's kind of acting differently. The only time that he has traded a first-round pick was when he traded for DeForest Buckner, Carson Wentz, and technically it was a pick swap between the Jets to move down, but he technically gave up a first round pick to get another first round pick to get Quentin Nelson. And then he traded out of the first round, and we ended up getting Michael Pittman. So the times that he does make moves with first round picks, he has a pretty high hit percentage. DeForest Buckner, Quentin Nelson, Michael Pittman Jr. Obviously, the Carson Wentz trade was a disaster, but when he traded Carson Wentz, he was able to get a pick back that turned into Josh Downs. So he's kind of shooting 100% when it comes to moving first round picks around. Let's talk about the players. Well, let's talk about the cornerbacks Chris Ballard has drafted. And we'll decide, like, is he good at actually evaluating that position as a general manager and as a scout? In the second round of 2017, he drafted Quincy Wilson. He was released after his third year, and he is out of the league. In the fifth round of 2017, he drafted Nate Hairston. He was gone after his second year, and he is also out of the league. And then, by the grace of God, he was able to sign undrafted free agent Kenny Moore in 2017. Big W. Pro Bowl player, top end nickel corner in this league. A massive hit by Ballard. Let's go to 2019. In the second round, he drafted Rocky Sin. He was traded, and he is now on his fourth team, and he is in Detroit. And people in Detroit do not like seeing him on the field, because if he's on the field, that means shit has gone bad. In the sixth round of the 2020 draft, he drafted Isaiah Rodgers, and he was unfortunately released for gambling. And he went to the Philadelphia Eagles and won a championship, and he is now on the Vikings, balling out. And a lot of people thought we could have traded for him at the trade deadline, but he was one of my favorite players while he was in Indy. So I liked watching him play, and I'm glad he was able to win a Super Bowl ring in Philly, and that he was able to cash out and play well in Minnesota. In 2023, in the second round, he drafted Juju Brents, who has been released after 2 years, and he plays for the Dolphins. In the fifth round, he drafted Darius Rush, who was out of the league. And in the seventh round, he drafted Jalen Jones, starter, got a lot of playing time over the last 2 years, and he's going to be in the league for at least 10 years. He's shown that he has staying power in this league as a seventh rounder. In 2024, in the fifth round, he drafted Jalen Simpson, who was out of the league. In the sixth round, he drafted Micah Abraham, who doesn't play. And then as an undrafted free agent, he brought in Daryl Baker in 2024. He's now gone after 2 years, and he's in Tennessee. And we drafted Justin Wally in the third round of this past draft. It's to be determined what he is and what he's going to be. But I will say, as a fan of this kid coming out of the draft, he was listed as a starter next to Javarius Ward going into training camp. So they were pretty high on him. So I'm going to assume that he was going to be a good player. Now let's talk about some of the free agents that Chris Ballard has brought in. Pierre Desir, Xavier Rhodes, Javarius Ward, Stephon Gilmore. It seems like Ballard is good at finding late round gems in the draft for cornerback and identifying established cornerbacks in this league. As far as drafting cornerbacks at the top of the draft, not so good. Could be better, but not terrible. And he also traded for Mekhi Blackman, who's gotten a lot of playtime and is developing very nicely. Now let's talk about the grand prize here. Sauce Gardner, two-time Pro Bowler, two-time All-Pro, Defensive Rookie of the Year, a 90 PFF grade, while only allowing 50% completions, has 49 pass breakups, all which are first in the NFL since he entered the league. He's been in the conversation for being the best cornerback in the league. He came into the league as a rookie, and people were asking, is this the best cornerback in the NFL after 1 year? That's an incredible talent. An incredible talent. Now, the stats in the film would kind of say he hasn't been playing great in New York at the beginning of the season, but he has been turning it on a little bit more as the season has gone on. And it is clear that any player that can get out of New York, whether it be the Jets or the Giants, tend to turn things around and get better because that city and those organizations are not the best for a winning environment. So the idea that Sauce Gardner goes from a bad team and a bad ran organization to a winning team in a better ran organization, I expect Sauce Gardner to be more so who he was when he came into the league as opposed to who he is currently, which is right now, he's probably still on his worst day, a top 15 corner. And if you told me that we get a top 15 corner next to Javarius Ward, that's a win in my book. Javarius Ward, although he hasn't played a lot this year, in man coverage, he has given up 0 completions. 0. Man on man, one on one, he doesn't give up any catches. So you're telling me that we're going to put Sauce Gardner on wide receiver twos? Is that what we're going to do? And he's a top 15 corner with the potential of getting back to being the best corner? Yeah, this secondary just got real, real nasty. Now, he has been in the concussion protocol because apparently he got one in New York. So he should play against Atlanta in Germany. That's a lot of travel going from New York to Indianapolis and then getting ready to go to Germany and having to learn the playbook and all that stuff. That's a lot. That's a lot to put on someone's plate in 1 week. If he doesn't play or doesn't play like the entire game in Germany, I'm not super concerned. Like I'm not gonna look at, why isn't he on the field? Why isn't he playing every down, every snap? I would only expect him to be out there on like blatant passing downs, like third downs or second and longs, things of that nature. And even then, I don't expect him to really do much because Lou Anarumo's scheme is complicated. So for Sauce, I would kind of expect him to be there on passing downs. And it's, hey, cover the guy in front of you. That's it. That's all you're going to do. Lock up the man in front of you. That's your job. And then after the Germany game, we get a bye week. And that's a whole nother week to just dive into the playbook, dive into the film, and really get coached up by Lou Anarumo. You can look at how Mekhi Blackman has been playing, how Edwards has been playing, how Jalen Jones has improved, how Latu has improved. You can tell he's a good coach, and he's good at developing players and getting the best out of them. Lou Anarumo came into the NFL as a defensive backs coach. So now we're giving him one of the most talented, gifted defensive backs in the NFL a full week to coach him up. Yeah, this Lou Anarumo's about to get real freaky out here. I'm not gonna lie. Like our defense after the bye week is going to be super exotic. Like I know we have, you know, we have issues with our coverage as far as linebackers go, but now with two number one cornerbacks, you don't have to leave your linebackers one on one on an island, or you don't have to, trust them to be in the right place in zone coverage. Now you can maybe bring Nick Cross into the box, maybe have Cam Bynum cover a tight end, give our linebackers more support because we don't have to worry about Mekhi Blackman covering wide receiver one out there. We don't have to worry about Jalen Jones covering wide receiver one out there. And I'm curious to see who Lou Anarumo views as cornerback one. Is it Sauce Gardner or is it Javarius Ward? What if he determines that they're both cornerback one? What if it's a thing where, okay, well, Sauce Gardner, you're on the left side, Ward, you're on the right side, and that's just how we're going to run our defense. You guys can stay on one side of the field. No matter what the offense does as far as formations goes, you can't hide your number one receiver. What are you going to do? Put him in the slot and get covered by Kenny Moore or Jalen Jones? As far as the trade deadline, I honestly thought Ballard was going to maybe get, another, vet cornerback or a young potential defensive pass rusher. But for him to bring in a top flight cornerback when I believe our cornerback room is already top 15 at least, now you have Travarius Ward, a clear number one. Sauce Gardner, another clear number one. Jalen Jones, who has number one cornerback reps the last 2 years and has been producing at a high level, being your third cornerback. And then you still have Kenny Moore in the slot. You have Mike Hilton still. You have Mekhi Blackman, who is now your fourth or fifth cornerback, who has got starter snaps. Like, this secondary, I would say at minimum top 10 in passing. At minimum. And I don't like, we can look at the numbers as far as our pass defense goes. Those numbers are going to be skewed a little bit. Those numbers are skewed, especially at the beginning of the season, because we had no Travarius Ward for most of the season. We didn't have Jalen Jones out there for the beginning of the season. And we had Xavier Howard out there getting abused. He's now retired. And now we have Sauce Gardner. And now we have Jalen Jones. And then Travarius Ward is going to come back healthy. Man, I can't wait to watch this defense. This is going to be so great. I honestly, low-key, feel bad for Gus Bradley because, man, they didn't get that dude any help out there. And he clearly, with his scheme, you don't need a lot of, I guess, premier athletes or man-on-man guys. But if I'm Gus Bradley and I'm looking at this revamped Colts defense, he's got to be thinking, okay, so all I had to do was ask. Maybe Lou Anarumo is one of those kinds of guys who's like, I'm just going to ask for stuff. I'll ask until someone says no. If I don't ask, they can't say no. So you're going to have to tell me no if I ask for stuff. And apparently, Chris Ballard is giving Lou Anarumo whatever he wants, and I am here for it. I'm here for it. Let's see what Lou can do with all these pieces. And based on what he's done so far, without some of these pieces, I'm way more excited now for this defense. Way more excited. But let me know what you guys think of the trade. Did we give up too much? Is the expectation at this point Super Bowl or bust? Or are we happy with just making the playoffs? Let me know what you think in the comments. Make sure you like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time after the Falcons game. Monday at 7 in the morning. We'll be here on YouTube. So make sure you turn on your notifications. Thanks for watching. Go Colts.
Thanks for watching, babe. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel.
You made it this far. If you have not liked the video at this point, what are you waiting for? Just like the video. Hit the like button right now. I'm talking to you. Make sure you like the video and subscribe and drop a comment. All that stuff. This is a threat. Not a threat, a warning. But it could be a threat. Just do it.